Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is now episode 12 of our NDIS SEO campaign. The bulk of the work is all done now over the last episodes, which I've documented every week. But today I just wanted to go through and just quickly recap what we've done so far, and then also outline a little strategy that you can use yourself to continue on with your SEO campaign and continue to see improvements and growth in your business and ultimately keep growing. So, in episode 1, we ran through the entire strategy. Episode 2, we optimized the Google business profile. This is probably one of the most important things that you should do at the very start of your campaign, because you want to make sure that you're showing up in a local radius of your service location. And it's also just a good way that you can start collecting reviews and adding imagery and a few other things that you offer. We then went through and optimized the homepage of the website, because when we first started working on the site, it was quite bland. It just had a little bit of messaging on here. But we made sure that we went through and then started targeting all of our top important commercial keywords. So we implemented things like the H1 here, Disability Support Brisbane. And then we went through and fixed up a number of these titles to include disability support service keywords and sort of variations of that, and added them throughout the content. A few more of these. We added internal links from the service tiles to all of the main service pages. We added a section talking about NDIS and a link to the NDIS page. I added an FAQ, obviously talking about the most important questions. And yeah, that's what we did on the homepage. The next thing we did was a citation and directory audit. But since this is a brand new business and we know they already didn't have any citations or anything like that, we just went through our master list and started filling out all of these directories for the client. This is a really important step that you should do early on in your campaign, because it sort of gets that first initial bit of momentum and visibility for your business. So you apply and submit your business to all of these directories here. Google looks at it and goes, okay, all these sites around the internet are linking to this site and placing their information on there. So we're going to start trusting them a little bit more, and then they start giving you a bit of visibility and helping you show up in search results. From there, we created all of the content and pages for all of the services that Neighbourly offers. When we first got control of the site, it only had a single services hub page, which just listed all of the services. So what we did was we went out and created a page for every single one of these services so that we could talk about them in more detail. So this is what one of them looks like. And we went through and I showed you the entire process of how to write and optimize this content so that it starts ranking in Google, and that's all without the use of a professional copywriter. We then went through and implemented a internal linking strategy, which is essentially just adding links throughout the content on your website to the most important service pages you are trying to rank. This is quite extensive strategy, so if you want to learn more about that, make sure to check out episode 7. Then in episode 8, we went through our backlink strategy for Neighbourly Community Care. I basically showed you how to analyze your competitors and find what backlinks they are using, which then you can then reach out and obtain backlinks to your own website. I showed you how to vet the backlinks for quality and make sure they're not toxic. And then I showed you how to write a guest post and as well as reach out to this website source to obtain the backlink. So here we obtained a number of backlinks to Neighbourly Community Care, and that's given us a good boost in authority, which will in turn help us rank for the keywords we are pushing. In episode 9, we went through our blog strategies. We came up with 3 blog topic ideas, as well as the keyword research for the primary and secondary keywords and the search volume for those, and then just the competitor articles to base the research off. From there, we went out and wrote our first blog article, which is called NDIA versus NDIS. And we wrote a really nice optimized blog article here that's going to have a very good chance of ranking in Google and pulling in a substantial amount of organic visitors to the site, who would then filter in and look at our service pages and hopefully reach out and inquire. And then lastly, in episode 11, we went and created our first location page. And I'll just bring that up here. This is a page that is just targeting all of the disability services keywords in Redcliffe, and that's shown through our H1, our H2s and H3s and throughout the content. And this page essentially is just going to try and help extend our reach and visibility in the local market and hopefully get us ranking for Redcliffe terms. So when someone in Redcliffe searches for disability support services, we're a chance of showing up and potentially obtaining that business. Now, a little bonus that I'll be giving away in the description of this video is just a link to a copy of the master document that I've used for this entire series. And within this document, you'll find a lot of the research and resources that I've used to help me create everything in this campaign. So if you go through, there's a tab for keyword research. So if you are optimizing a disability support website, you can find all of our keyword research in here. It's nothing special, but this is how I like to lay out when I do keyword research. I just write the name of the page, and then underneath I list all of the keywords that I'll be targeting. I'll find a competitor article to help with research and direction, and then just a few notes if need be. Coming over to here, this is an SEO workbook. I don't believe I've introduced this in the campaign yet, but it's a really important tool that a colleague of mine showed me one time. And basically what it is, if you're trying to optimize a page on your website, you should really be recording all of these things you do, because SEO, at the end of the day, there's no written playbook. It's all about testing and tweaking and seeing how things go. So if you were to say make optimizations on the homepage, you would record the URL, and then I'll do it here. And then say we're going to change the page title. So that is here. This is a title. If we wanted to change that, we would copy that one there. And then we would also write our new one. And I like to date it and leave a note. So if we look in a month's time and our rankings have actually tanked and it hasn't had the effect that we wanted, we can easily come back in here and go and look at what we changed. And that way we can revert it back to how it was if there was an issue. So this is a good way of just keeping track of everything you've done and making sure things don't get away from you, where you're just messing around with a bunch of different pages and you don't really know what affects what. The next tab of this document just contains our long tail keyword research. So that's what we call blog topics. So here it's just got the outline, and if you are an NDIS business, you can obviously use these and then just make copies of these going down the page and adding more topics as you go. It's also got the little template here for recording all of the backlinks, with 3 that you can use off the rip, which we have already built for Neighbourly Community Care. Just reach out to them and send them your guest post. And there's also the live link for an example if you get stuck. Over here, we have directories. These are all the directories that we filled out for Neighbourly Community Care. So if you haven't done any of these, here are the most important Australian directories that you should start with. This definitely isn't all of the directories that you can use, but it's a good start. And in the episode where I explain how I do this, there's also gigs on Fiverr that you can purchase to speed up this process if you don't want to sit there and manually fill out these directories, because it is quite time consuming. Then lastly, we have a task sheet here, and this is a lot of sort of beginner advice. So if you haven't done any or haven't done much of SEO before, it's probably good to just go through this checklist and just make sure that you're ticking off all of these as you go as part of your campaign. And over here, there's a little video explaining how to do each of those. So this section here is just everything to do with optimizing the Google business profile. On page, bit of competitor research, speed testing your website, making sure that's nice and fast and not hindering you, keyword research, alt tagging images. If you don't know what an alt tag is, it's essentially the description that you use to go along with an image on your website. So if I take a look at this one on the community access page, it is just this little description that you go and add to the image. And essentially what it is for someone, if the image doesn't load, the description will show up and they can tell what the image should be. And it's also a really good way to get sort of keywords and explain what's going on in the image. And it's actually quite important for SEO. So you want to go through and make sure each one of your images have a really descriptive text to them, and also try and include keywords if possible. Then from there, a few other things that you can check off as well. Optimize meta titles. We've been through that in this campaign. Local service page strategy. So that's just your location pages and your service pages, your internal links. Citations that we just mentioned before. Talks about getting reviews. Social media profiles. So always handy to have Instagram and Facebook. And then post at least once a week on these profiles. It's a good guide to follow, but not always necessary. A few technical fixes, website speed, local scheme, sitemap. These get quite technical. So if you are a little bit more advanced, you can follow along here and add these to your site, and they always help. Core Web Vitals, adding Google Analytics and Search Console. Should be done at the start of your SEO campaign because all of this data is super important in guiding your future decisions. So you want to be tracking firstly, your traffic, where this traffic's coming from. You'll be tracking your conversions. So that's your emails, your phone calls, and your contact forms. And then lastly, visual changes. These are just a nice to have, not always necessary. Sticky navigation is just the title bar on the top of your website. We actually don't have it sticky at the moment since you can't see it as we scroll. So if you want, you can make that sticky so that people always have access to click on your home button or call now as they scroll, and just make it a little bit easier for the user. Reviews on the home page, clear call to actions, frequently asked questions, gallery, and then lastly, just making sure your site is responsive on mobile, which I have shown throughout this campaign. So if you want access to this spreadsheet, I will leave a link in the description and you can follow along at home and incorporate everything that I have talked about in this entire series. You don't have to be an NDIS business. This can work for any sort of local service business. And yeah, if you implement everything that we've shown here, you're sure to have good results if you stick to it and keep improving your site over the long term. Cheers.